It's the beginning of a new year, and we just came out of the solstice time and the new year, and the solstice being the true new year at 0 degrees Capricorn 0. So a lot of you were there at the new moon, and at the solstice, which the solstice and the new moon happened a day apart this time. And so it had a double strength about it this time. And so it's definitely strong because now we're in the full moon of Cancer, the opposite sign. And this is the moon of feelings, right? And what I titled this thought, the thought I wanted to share with you today was what you feel, you can heal, right? Like that concept is so powerful, and people are full of feelings right now and emotion and past emotions and things that are undone, things that we're working out, things that are from really far in the past, right, that are old. So we're dealing with patterns, we're dealing with childhood stuff, if you'll notice and see what you've been thinking about lately. Dreams, intuition, psychicness, feelings. And it's this whole world, this ocean. I used that image, if you saw it, as the opening image of this moon pouring over a cliff, right? It's the ocean of emotion. It's so much emotion. And we're also in solar Capricorn. So it's the opposite sign, is like a rock, right? Capricorn is a mountain, right? Images for Capricorn are like a diamond or a mountain, right? Steel, things that are solid. And the moon in Cancer is very amorphous and swishy and, and soft, on the inside. And so what I've noticed as I've been speaking with people all day today is there's a lot of emotion coming up for this full moon and things to realize and work with. And what you feel, you can heal. And so you can use this meditation today to let some of this stuff come up. And it could bring tears, or it could bring memory or sensitivities or some sentimentality, the good old days thing, So let that happen. And like water, let it pass through rather than collect it. Like let it move through you. And if emotion comes up during the meditation, let that be. That's fine. And see what sticks in a way. Like what's the point as you're in your meditation when we start to move into it? What is coming up to the surface? What is rising to your awareness that is perhaps a through line that connects all those memories, all those feelings, right? All those impressions that you might be feeling. What is the theme that is coming up for you? Because that's the work. That's the work. I wanted to give a piece of homework to work with, a practice, how I give practices, to play with during this next month period. It's something I use all the time, every day, hundreds and hundreds of times, in all my conversations and in my emails and in my texts and in my phone calls and leaving messages or any kind of conversation. I use this idea of the 3 gates, they're called. And the 3 gates are, I've actually found an image of it, so I'll show you. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And I'm telling you, when you run your text through that filter, there's a lot of superfluous information that we want to make sure they understand, or we want to be sure they know they heard us, or we want to be sure that we make our point, or we want to have any kind of agenda that we might have that's connected to the ego. If you run it through that filter, it just pops it. And it becomes this clean communication, right? This clean communication. Is it true? Right? Is it necessary? And that's a big one because that covers a lot of ground. Sometimes we just say things that aren't important or aren't necessary to the conversation at all. And is it kind? And so just use that like a lot. Like use it even in your own self-talk, right? How you talk to yourself. Is it kind? Wow, just that by itself, that sentence all by itself. To ask yourself, am I being kind? Would I be kinder to anybody else about this than myself? Right? And it's a good question to ask, and it can make you laugh. Hopefully it will, or it can make you cry, but whatever it does, good, because it breaks the spell of this negativity and of this, I call it wallpaper, the background of our thoughts that is just playing along all the time, which is the ego basically, finding fault and keeping its power intact. The ego is a closed and fixed system. I teach that all the time. And it doesn't want anything to change, ever, right? And so it doesn't, one of the ways it keeps us sort of hostage at times is either by superiority, which we all know what that looks like, an egotist, right? But then there's the opposite, which is inferiority, which is also a trick of the ego, right? We are holy, right? We're sacred beings. And when we know that, then that game of being better or being worse than is done. There isn't a game any longer. And so is it kind? Right? Is it necessary? Is it true? How we speak to ourselves, how do we speak to others? But seriously, I run that filter through anything I do. In my writing of a book, in my writing of how to come to this, how to join this, it's like I try to be as clear as possible, as clarified and to the point as I can be, and imbuing everything that I think, speak, and do through that filter, which equals love, right? Because it's kindness. It's kindness in action. So I want you to play with that, because there are a lot of emotions that are going to be coming up today and tomorrow and yesterday and just this whole last week probably, and coming up during maybe even this whole month. And I'll show you the chart. Some of you that like to see the full moon chart, I'm just going to put it up. What we have here is, here's the sun, moon, 16 Cancer, 16 Capricorn, conjunct Mercury, trining Uranus, sextiling Uranus. Very interesting, this combination. So we've got communication, right? Mercury retrograde, right? It's retrograde. Conjunct the sun, words coming out, not how you mean them, misunderstandings, all you see, right? And then opposing to the moon, a lot of emotion in Cancer. And then, but the interesting thing is it's sextiling and trining Uranus, which means that this is kind of an interesting time, because you might be able to pull a rabbit out of the hat with situations that you think are impossible, to discover that maybe they're not so impossible, that you might think outside the box of things and come to a very interesting, different conclusion than the one that you typically go to. And so you're looking for like a willingness to be open to new ideas and new ways of looking at things, new ways of describing things, new ways of communicating, even though it's retrograde. And when Mercury's retrograde, it's actually useful because it does make you review, right? And think your words before you blurt them out, right? But because the moon is in Cancer, we're very emotional, so sometimes the emotion is coming so fast. But with Mercury retrograde, it means you might take your time a little bit more before you jump to say something shocking or say something that you really feel, it's like, so it's a time to be mindful of your words, of course, always, and using that filter. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? It becomes a useful implement, right, to start to work with all the time. So I'd love you to work with that. And in this emotional time where I think people are a little bit running out of endurance, right, and getting tired, it's like, oh, enough already, and then there's something else, and they're watching the government go through what it's going through. It's so interesting, and I think people are going, really now and this is happening, and now this, and I think that there's a tiredness and a fatigue. But we are strong. And these emotions that are coming up for everyone are necessary to come up, because what you feel, you can heal. What you deny, or what we won't let ourselves feel because we don't want to feel it, or we don't think we should feel what we feel, creates all the neuroses that there are, right? One of my teachers was a psychologist and a psychiatrist, actually, and he was a friend of mine, and I got to be a friend of his, and his theory was that psychological health was simply, and this man was a big thinker, but psychological health was and is being emotionally current with our emotions, emotionally current. So how often do we box things up, put things away, file them away in the past? That was then, this is different. How often do we feel it's inappropriate to feel what we feel because we shouldn't feel that way? And anything that goes wrong in the psychological life has to do with not letting yourself process the emotion that you're having. So can you let yourself feel what you feel? Don't be afraid of your emotions. There's power in our emotion, right? But sometimes if we've been, stopping them for a long time, or we just don't want to think about it, they sort of volcanically erupt, and they feel quite overwhelming. But that's only because we're not staying current with them. So the more current you are, that's why there's journaling. That's why there's meditation. That's one of the reasons meditation is there, is to keep clearing the field, keep clearing the field. Journaling, keep clearing the mental field, right? Emotional field, crying, saying how you actually feel. So like when I talk to people, I say, so how are you? And like, I am looking for an answer there. I'm not wanting to hear fine, or great, good. I'm looking for a real answer, which is usually complex, right? Or maybe many things simultaneously, not just one thing at a time. We don't just feel fine. We feel many things. And so can we be good listeners to our own self? Can we be, sometimes you have people in your life you can speak with and speak your heart to, and sometimes you don't, right? Just for all kinds of reasons. There's just nobody there that can be there for you like that. You can be there for you like that, right? Take yourself seriously. Care about yourself. Let yourself matter to you. This is a big thing I'm saying. It's a piece of work, right? Because it's like we don't even know how to do that. We can be a good listener for someone else maybe, but we're not necessarily a good listener to ourselves. And then it goes back to those gates, the 3 gates, right? Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? How are we even listening to ourselves? So by letting yourself feel, you can then heal, right? Sometimes there's a lot of feelings to go through if we haven't been keeping up with them. And, that's where therapy comes in really well. Things like that, or writing a book about it, or getting it out, singing about it, writing a song about it, making art about it, all the ways that creative people are speaking it, singing it, doing it, right, are ways of expressing deep emotion that's hidden, that we feel that maybe somehow is inappropriate. Well, in this beautiful Cancer, big feeling full moon, this is all about letting feelings be expressed, or at least witnessed and known, right? And it doesn't have to be emotional. Sometimes it is because you're in mourning, or it is emotional because it breaks your heart, or your heart is broken for the moment, right? So you might feel all of that, or you're fearing something. whatever those emotions are, but it also isn't necessarily emotive. It can be. It often is, right? Especially if they've been pushed back. But as you process things in the moment, now our point of power is in the now. When we process things in the now, in the moment, it's pretty easy to go, now I feel this, now I feel that, right? It keeps changing. The answer keeps changing because we're feeling all kinds of things. We can feel joyful and awful at the same time, or right seconds apart from each other at times, right? It's that feeling of bittersweetness, right? Of the beauty of something really sad. It's another teacher used to say to me, the way you can recognize the energy of the soul is by the quality of the beautiful sadness. And instantly, like, I knew what that meant. I know what that feeling is. And that thing that I might have called sadness only was the beautiful sadness. It's compassion. It's pure heart. So can we hear and know and feel our own feelings in pure heart? Of course, that's a practice. It's not something we can just do, and it depends on the subject, because some subjects we're more generous with, and some subjects we're more stingy with, because that's not forgivable. But it's all forgivable, everything. We are ever redeemable. There's no thing that can't be redeemed by heart, right? And so, but in our own estimation, we tend to be tight and screwing the screws in tighter and tighter until we tilt or have a nervous breakdown or things that happen psychologically that are very stressful. So I'm talking about psychology a little bit because the moon in Cancer is a lot about psychology, how you feel. And you know how when we do our meditation and we say, take a breath and balance the physical body, and then take another breath and balance the emotional body. And then finally we get to the mental body, which is the final frontier because it is going all the time, blah, 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 constantly. But you kind of can't even get to the mental body till you've done the physical first, the just nervous energy, tension, shaking legs, whatever, our pain, right? And then you go to the emotional body. That's what we're talking about right now. Healing the emotional body, which is a field within us, so that the mental body can finally, right? And it's this hush, it's this silence, it's this stillness, and you remember who you are. That's what we're doing. So it's so powerful. I picked a card. I'm going to pick another one just for fun. I picked one just before and picking one now. Okay, so the first card I picked before we began is Adapt, and I feel like we got that last time. Adapt, these are the soul trees. I love this deck. And this one is Inner Growth. Inner growth. So adapt and inner growth, we're just thinking of those ideas in this, that when we do the meditation, what needs some inner growth, what needs some adaptivity. I always say that intelligence is the ability to adapt, right? It's that creative response to life rather than going, I always do things like this, but what if you can't? What if we have to live in a tent? Now what are you going to do? So that adaptivity is intelligence. It's creative. It can move and be different to a situation, even though all this time we've been doing it one way, we can do it another. So adapt, right? To adapt for inner growth. So I'm just putting those keywords into this conversation and into this meditation. So we just came out of the solstice, 0 degrees Capricorn. Then we had the new moon at 1 degree Capricorn. Now we're at the sun degree of 17 Capricorn. So when I was showing you the chart, that if you have planets around 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, right, of Capricorn or Cancer, especially Cancer, you're really going to feel this full moon. Everybody's got it somewhere, though, in their chart, right? So it's always it's in one house, even if there's not a planet there. It's somewhere in one of those mansions are called, and that's an area of your life. So it's always nice to know at least that, which signs are in which houses, because if you know that, let's say you had Cancer rising, so Cancer's in the first house, then you'd know this would be very personal, this particular full moon, really about you and how you feel. Where if it was in the seventh house, it might be about your partner and having feelings in regard to relationship and things like that. So it's just another way to know yourself. Socrates said, know thyself. That was sort of his answer, his bottom line, his equals this. If you do that, then all of this is yours. And to know thyself, all the ways you can know yourself, by inner life, outer life. And what I say is when the inner and the outer begin to be the same, right? That's spiritual life. When my outer and my inner are equal, right? That's like as within, so without, as above, so below, right? There's this symmetry in the life rather than feeling like, we're being fake, or that some kind of, putting it on for people, not being authentic, not feeling like we can be authentic, not feeling like anybody knows us or could know us, or if they did, they wouldn't like us. Things like that. People think things like this. You might know what I mean, right? Because it's so common, right? People's self-esteem. And and there was another name for this full moon, we could call it the self-esteem full moon. Like, can you nurture yourself? Can you be kind to yourself? So we'll go into the meditation with that. And so if you have a candle, you can light it, or you may already have lit it. If you don't have a candle, don't worry about it. You just do an imaginary candle in your mind. This is purely symbolic, to set an intention of light that can be done in your mind or outright like this. And I love the process of the ritual of just lighting a candle to show intention. But when I meditate by myself, I don't always light a candle, right? It's more energetic than it's anything. So we're just letting our candle be lit. It's just, there it goes. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to use the count in like we did at the solstice. That was, I think it was at the very last, it might have been the full moon that I did it, the last full moon that I did the count in, and I'd never done it before, and then I did it at the solstice too, and I think it's really powerful. So it's a different way of getting into state. And what we're trying to get into the state of is love. Like real, not personal, like I love macaroni, it's like love, like big love, right? That's what we're trying to get in the state of love and light and power, right? Which is our power. To be standing in that peace where love can shine through you, glow through you, halo through you, so that it's almost like you have a corona of light around you, because everything's filtering through love. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Even as you're thinking to yourself, or as you're thinking about what I'm saying, like how does it filter through your head? It's like, so what it does also when you listen like that and live like that and think like that, how you hear others is so pure, because there's no unconscious agenda. There's just presence, and it feels good to be known. And how many people do you know in your life that know you, really, really know you, right? And sometimes, like I said, there isn't anyone. There's periods. It doesn't mean that's always the case, but there can be times. And that's when we have to learn to be there for ourselves. So when you're ready to, let's take our seat now and get comfortable. just feel your breath organizing yourself into this time and space, breath by breath, coming into the moment. And with every breath, feeling yourself more present, soul with self, soul with self. So the self may have been going through a lot lately, right? So it's good to connect to the soul that's sort of untouched by any of that drama. It's free, you know. The soul is in meditation deep. And so whatever drama may have been seeming to happen, you know, and that you are experiencing or have been experiencing, the soul is in pure presence, just in pure presence. And so from your heart center, just noticing and feeling, sensing other hearts on the planet that are meditating today with us, this whole group that we are, but the whole group that the world is of conscious souls. We are a group of lighthouses. We are a group of consciousness that is everywhere across the planet. And just for a moment, take a few breaths through your heart center. Like your heart center, right in the center of the sternum there, are your lungs in a sense, that you could breathe right through your heart. And what I notice when I consciously breathe through my heart is I can feel the resistance that can be there, right? If I've had fear, or I've had pain, or I've had loss, I can feel it around my heart like a covering. And so as you breathe through your heart center, it sort of starts to break that up. And just imagine that you could breathe through the heart center, sort of unlocking the heart to let yourself feel whatever's there. Inhaling and exhaling gently. And I call this conditioning the heart, conditioning it, and letting then the heart condition the whole self, so that your whole body starts to thrum with heart energy, that your whole body becomes, in a sense, a heart. Inhaling and exhaling through the heart center. And then here comes our count in. Star, sky, ocean, land, mountain, tree, human, all beings, place, body, self, soul. Star, sky, ocean, land, mountain, tree, all beings, self, soul. Changing a little bit. Star, earth, sky, ocean, land, mountain, tree, all beings, self, soul. So the heart connects to the heart of the soul. connecting heart to heart. And as you start to move into the silence of the meditation, you allow feelings to arise in order to witness them, to forgive them, to understand them, to heal them, feeling by feeling. Making sure not to reject any one, but to allow all. One after another, because there's lots of feelings. And just letting them arise. And as you do this allowing, over the period of silence, try not to think, too much, because it will break the feeling river. Sense, not think, sense what is in common with them all. What is the common emotional denominator? As you reflect over the life or over the last day, just pick whatever time frame you wish. Lifetimes, this lifetime, this whole lifetime, this year, this month, this week, this day. And just in that silence now, witness, sense, and allow whatever's there to arise. If there's stuckness in any way, if you feel like you're mentalizing it, just bring your hand on your heart. So that it keeps your attention to the heart. And allow the heart to offer and show you, teach you, welcome you, heal you. Now, and into the silence now. My heart can hold it all. That's the mantra. My heart can hold it all. Any feeling from any time in my life. My heart can hold it all. Let the presence, the angelic presence of your higher being stand witness to this stream of healing. When I sense angelic energy, it feels profoundly sober. The witness. Power and strength. And in that safety you can feel. And as you notice, as you're in this depth, what might be, sense this, don't think it, what might be the common denominator emotion or feeling, you see how it sort of distills into a pattern perhaps. Through all those different memories or examples or things you've been through lately, have a common thread. See if you can sense what that is. No judgment. And when you perhaps know what that thread might be, imagine taking that idea or that feeling and placing it on your altar, right? Like an inner altar. You place it, this feeling, this emotion, this pain, this sad, this, place it on the altar. And watch it move and transform. Watch it transmute into its truest expression. Like loneliness, right? In its heart can be really the desire and the knowing of how to connect, really connect. Just as an example, you place that thread, that through line, and place it on the altar, and you kind of give it, I call it giving it up. You give it up. And let it change. And let the energy of spirit change it. Transmute it. Without you doing anything except to offer it. Offer it. And you know, like Tong Lin, as you accept this, right, you're not just doing this offering for yourself. It's for anybody that has this on the whole planet. Everyone that has this same issue on the whole planet gets a healing with you as you give it up, as you offer it. I offer this. And see what imagery comes with it as you do this. It's information about your relationship with it. Yeah. Just leave it there on the altar. And it may have changed into a flower. Or a drawing. Or a key. Or a color. Or light. And just letting all of that start to dissolve now into your body being and what you are knowing more and more. Coming back into this time and space, feeling yourself present in your place where you are. Letting your breath integrate all of this and reorganize it, recalibrate it, bring it into harmony in this new self, because you've already changed just by going through the process. Good, and then when you're ready to, just letting your breath get deeper and fuller. Until it starts to feel natural to transition out of this meditation. Good. So it's a feeling moon, a healing moon. What's up to heal? What forgivenesses can be had or made towards yourself too, and others? What did you know? If we were in a class, we would talk about it, right? What did you realize? What did you know? How have you changed already? So, good work, everybody. I feel it. It's big. So, practice the 3 gates. Just work with that around how you communicate, especially when you write something down. So much power in word, right? Your word is law, right? And how you speak and what you choose to say, and what you don't, all of that is part of that clear communication. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? The 3 gates. And know that this month might be that, a little bit emotional, and working through those, and just let that be. Let that be the opportunity that it is, right? Journal, write about it, talk to dear friends, people that know how to listen, that know how to have those kinds of conversations, so that you can say your heart, right? And it's such a privilege, I feel, to be listening to that, to someone from that place. And it is also a privilege to be listened to like that. So bring that out into your world and see how it works, The next full moon is exact on Sunday, February 5th, so we'll probably do it, we might do it Sunday. I'm going to decide, it'll be Saturday or Sunday, so of the 4th or the 5th. And I might do it Sunday during the day, though. That could be different. So just watch your emails if you want to find out about how to join that. So thank you very much for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful month, and I will talk to you soon.